is approving the minutes of December 6th, 2021. I would entertain a motion. Member Lehman, second. Member Klein. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Next item is payment of the bills and appropriation transfer requests. We have no appropriation transfers. Any questions on any of the bills? They were emailed to us. I did receive a letter from the auditor saying that everything was in order and she recommended payment. Okay. All right. Second. Motion by Friedrich, second by Thompson. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. No appearances by members. First item is 5A1. Request approval of a resolution for December 21st, 2021. Material and construction letting. Someone want to make the motion? Member Wachinski, second. Member Lehman. All right. Jerry, you want to lead us on this?
Sure, thank you. So this is our kind of yearly letting that we do for the rock and different materials that we use for shoulder or for putting in culverts. And so this basically just establishes a price for 2022. And then so some of it's out of the MFT fund and some of it's out of the bridge fund. And then we also, so that's for the material side. And then we also had a project letting for the Stringtown Road project, and Stark Excavating was the only bidder on the project. And so it was a little bit above our estimate, but we still think it's worth awarding and to get the project done here in 2022.
Any questions? Member Frederick?
Are those costs per ton, does that include transportation to the site, or is that just at the quarry?
So the price that they give is at the quarry price, but then it depends on where we're working at, and then we add 20 cents per lane mile. We just figure out where those quarries are at, and then we add 20% or 20 cents per mile to that, and then we make a map to where if we're working in this certain area of the county, this is where we need to go for the aggregate, whether we're on the north side or south side. And it also depends on the availability of the aggregate. Some quarries may not have enough of what we need, depending on what type of work we're doing. And then sometimes it does come down to quality, depending on what we're doing, because some quarries aren't, rock isn't the best for what the type of job we're doing.
20 cents a ton trucking.
Yeah.
That's pretty cheap.
20 cents a mile. I'm sorry.
That's cheap. No.
Any other questions? All right, we're ready to vote then. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is 5A2, request approval of a resolution for December 17th, equipment letting and resolution of surplus property. Motion by Member Klein, second by Member, let's do Mr. Rogal. All right, Jerry, go ahead.
So this is where we took a bid on the backhoe, and then we were going to go on the state bid with Marl Brothers out of Greenfield to get some fleet trucks and a Ford Explorer. And so a little background here. So two of these pickups we actually tried to purchase in 2021, but I think we bid it back in February of 2021, and around October we received a letter from Barker's in Lexington saying that they weren't going to be able to fulfill the order with the way the production was. And so so they recommended that because basically what the problem was is we were ordering a regular cab truck and an extended cab truck, and GM was only making double cab or quad cab trucks. And so they recommended that that's what we should bid out to be able to get a vehicle. So actually on this December 17th letting, we actually bid that, and Barker's came down, and we had proposed some trades, and they looked at the trades, and apparently they went back that same day and to put it in the computer to come up with a price, and they for fleet trucks there was no GM had no slots available to place the order. So so we did receive a bid from Ford, but we decided to go ahead and reject that because we could get it $10,000 cheaper through the joint purchasing program with the state. So that's one of the trucks, or two of the trucks there actually that we were looking at. And the other issue that we're running into is trying to get some of these dealerships to provide trade numbers. Since we're talking 6 to 8 months out before we're going to get these vehicles, they won't provide hard trade numbers at this time. So it's something we can look at once the trucks come in, and that. But I think we just move forward with at least getting the purchase, and then the second part of this is the resolution of surplus property. So we could either look at trade values or go ahead and try to auction off the trucks on an auction site, or take them down to Clinton at the auction facility down there. Whatever we think is the best for the county.
Any questions? So then I guess what I'm a little confused or whatever. So you're gonna wait until we actually get a trade-in number from a dealer before we do this auction?
Not necessarily. We may look at Kelly Blue Book and see what they're going for,
Okay.
and we may reach out to the dealership here and see. I guess we could get numbers for them and see if we think that they're reasonable, and then if they're not, then we'd probably go the auction route, or or there's always where another department at the county would maybe want to purchase this from the highway department. So
Right.
that's I kind of put that in the surplus, is whether we can trade it in, transfer it, or auction it is.
And then we probably wouldn't even do that until we get the new vehicle,
Correct.
so that we aren't short.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is 5A3, request approval of a resolution for the December 28th, 2021 equipment letting. Who wants to make that motion? Member Thompson, second member Laitman. All right.
So this is our bid for the dump bodies and hydraulics that went on the tandems that were approved at the stand-up committee in December. And so we this year we opened up the bids a little bit. Usually we kind of limit it to like a 60-mile radius from here, and there's really only one or two vendors that are close by. And so we decided to open it up because when we take the trucks to these facilities and they do all the work, and most of the time for the actual bodies and hydraulics, they don't have to actually go back. So we think this is a better deal. And usually it's been Koenig that has had a lot of the work recently, and we've had some issues with them as far as they're not always fulfilling what they need to do. So we talked to some other townships that use Monroe equipment out of Joliet that are located in the county, and they've been happy with them. So that's why we opened up the bid, and they were the low bidder on this as well. So I think it'll be worth a shot.
Member Thompson?
That's pretty significant. Is it the same equipment or same manufacturers for the hydraulics?
The hydraulics are the same. And then the electronics that we have in the cab are the same. The only thing different is the actual bed itself. And that's the problem you run into, because these vendors or these companies that install this equipment work with certain vendors, and so they only deal with their product. And usually we're getting like Henderson beds, and that's what Koenig had, and they cost more. And so that's but we've had, I think, we have a couple of the 1 tons that have this type of crystal steel bed on them, and so I think we'll be fine.
And you never have a time when you move one bed to another truck or whatever to where, you know, where things won't line up or whatever. If you're having a different manufacturer bed, will that run into a problem?
That could, I don't know if we'd be able to do that. We have talked about doing that before, but I think on the trade-in side of our trucks, it would be higher just doing it all as one complete truck instead of trying to take an old one off and put it on a new one.
Right.
Now, we do have like we do keep like one spare truck, and I think we might do a bed swap on that one in the future. We've been talking about, but yeah, it'd probably have to be the same type of bed
Okay.
to do that because just the way the framing and all that and the dimensions and everything will work out.
Right. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is 5A4, Section 22-001-80-01-RS Seminary Street, County Highway 27 in Downs. And I'm going to take both of these A and B together. Request approval of the engineering services agreement from Hanson Professional Services and request approval of a motor fuel tax resolution. Motion by Member Klein, second by Member Wachinski. Okay, Jerry, go ahead.
So this is a street that's running from Route 150 to the I-74 interchange, and so it's coming up to needing resurfaced, and so that's what. But we're also going to add curb and gutter on like half the project, and improve the drainage on some of the project, and then redo the sidewalks and on like a couple of the blocks in there. There is a block that's like considered the downtown. We're gonna plan on right now is we're just gonna resurface through there and not do anything with the sidewalks and let the village kind of run with that because there's a lot of moving parts there with their parking and different things like that. So we're just gonna resurface through that block and then kind of it's not gonna be a full reconstruction, but there is gonna be a significant amount of work with the drainage and the curb and gutter that's gonna be going on and through there. We decided that we needed outside assistance on this to move forward with this, and so this is so then it's going to be using motor fuel tax funds. So there's more requirements, environmental side, and working with IDOT and that. So we are so we chose Hanson Professionals, who has done a lot of this urban work for us in the past.
Questions? So, so the logistics of this, I assume, is going to be kind of tight because again, you got a main drag through the town of Downs. So, I assume you just won't close the street completely, or will you have to, or how will that work?
Well, that's we'll have to look into that. We may just for safety and help production of the workforce. It might be better to close down the road at least maybe during the day. There might be a couple of times where we actually need to cross the road for there's a drainage pipe in there and or other drainage issues where we need to cross the road and dig across the road. So we're definitely gonna have to close the road down at that point.
I mean, there's other side streets, but if we're talking about heavy truck traffic, that might cause a problem.
Right.
And then obviously Washington Street goes by the school, so again, traffic could be an issue there. My other question was down on, and it may be too early to know, but on the north end of that, right at that bend, is Kickapoo Park.
Yes.
And I think they have some parking there, at least for a couple spots. So you'll have to take in consideration, a cutout with the curb there and all that. I don't believe there's a culvert or a tile, or, there. I think it's level with the street, I believe, but that's something you need to consider.
Yeah, we had actually talked to the village before last month to when we were kind of gearing up the scope for the project that Hanson was gonna do, we had the village kind of involved in it, and he did mention that there was a parking area. I don't think they really want people to park there. They use it more for their maintenance equipment
Right.
to get down and access that area. But,
Right.
yeah, we'll try to accommodate that and everything.
And I'm trying to think, on the cemetery side, I don't believe there's any entrances.
No,
can't
I don't
remember.
believe
I
there
don't
is
believe there
either.
is. Okay.
So, but if we had curb, I think we're gonna try to improve, it's kind of a steep slope there, so we
Right.
might be able to do something with that to help out.
So yeah, obviously you're being in contact with the village because they're gonna have a lot of issues and a lot of questions, I'm sure.
Right.
So,
Yeah, no,
okay.
we'll have once we get part of the design, probably next fall, we'll have a public meeting,
Okay.
so, see if there's any concerns that we're not thinking of.
All right. Any questions? Okay, we're ready to vote on that then. And again, it's for both A and B. Is there anything you need to discuss on the motor fuel tax resolution? Again, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so the motor fuel tax just covers the appropriates the money for the actual engineering of it.
Okay. All right, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is 5A5, request approval of a general engineering services agreement with Lewis, Yaki, and Brown Incorporated. Entertain a motion. Member Wachinski, second. Member Lehman. All right. Go ahead, Jerry.
So this is our annual agreement that we do with Lewis, Yaki, and Brown, and they provide a lot of survey services for us, and mainly it's for section corners that on roads that we resurface. They go out beforehand and find the actual section corners that are in the pavement, and then they take a shot on them and then tie them off to something as far as measurements go. And then after the resurfacing project's done, they go out and put them back in, and that's required by law that we do that. So they do that. If we need, it's like kind of a small project, right away plats or something like that, they do that as well. So just kind of miscellaneous survey. We don't have a professional surveyor on staff, so they're local and provide that service for us.
Any questions? Do you know on the hourly rates, are they higher than they normally were? Do you know whether they would increase their prices or anything?
I think they did increase them. I didn't look at the actual percentage, but I mean, they might go up like $5 an hour per classification on some of them, not all of them.
Right.
And then I think that's kind of what they do. Is like some years there's more, or certain classifications one year and certain classifications the other.
Right. Okay.
Um,
So, again, another reason I asked that, obviously that affects the overall costs. So.
Right, and it also the and then how many projects we do per year affects the cost
Right.
on that. Like last year we did a lot of projects, so it was I think it's probably like $20,000 to $25,000. I'm guessing what we ended total, for all the work they do and
Right.
to do that. So
Okay. Any questions? All righty, ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is 5A6, request approval of an agreement for Stormwater Education Program Services. I would entertain a motion. Member Thompson made a motion, and Member Friedrich made a second. I know that Mr. Brown is in our audience here. If you have any questions, or was there anything you wanted to mention? Okay. All right. Jerry, you want to lead the discussion, or is there anything we need to discuss?
So this is, well, I guess we can give a little background. Luke's probably a little more versed at this than I am, but we have an MS4 permit with the urbanized area of McLean County, and so part of that MS4 permit requirement is education and outreach, and different things that the Ecology Action Center does that part of the MS4 permit for us. So it actually works out the relationship works out really well, and I'll maybe let Luke expound on that a little bit.
Yes, so the Ecology Action Center, we work with them along with the town of Normal, City of Bloomington, and Benward. And they go out and do various inlet stencils for GPS where they find drainage area or find drainage outlets. They go to schools and do educational outreach to kids and various age groups. And then what the Ecology Action Center does is they generate a report quarterly and then on an annual basis that I use to help submit the MS4 permit to the Illinois EPA. So it's kind of a collaborative relationship we need for the MS4.
Any questions? I know I'm a big supporter of this. I think it's really important to keep people informed on what the right way to dispose of hazardous materials. I know that both the city and the town help provide revenue for this, and Benward. Um, and Mr. Brown, I guess I'll ask you, and you may need to come up and use a microphone. Um, and my question is, do the small towns participate? I realize that, for instance, Aerosmith and Ellsworth don't have a sewer system, but you know, Leroy and Downs, a lot of the bigger towns do have, and I just wondered, do any of the other villages participate?
So the education component, the classroom education component, we do, most of the schools, in the county, as well as in Bloomington and Normal. And so that component for sure. We do occasional outreach into some of the rural areas that are on septics and often do that in conjunction with the health department. And that reaches, where we're specifically do like direct mailings to areas that we know are on septic systems, and so that reaches some of those areas as well. The storm drain stenciling, that doesn't go where there isn't, a stormwater system.
Right.
That is directed at, the rural communities that do have stormwater systems. And so we do hit, yes, basically most areas of the community one way or another. There's, media campaigns on the radio and the newspaper and, social media. And so we're trying to reach everybody through, pretty much a shotgun approach, youth, adults, any way we can.
Okay. Again, I think it's, as I mentioned, it's an important thing. So, any other questions?
I'll just add one thing to that. So, we got audited by the EPA on our MS4 permit to make sure that we had all the documentation and everything that we needed. And the person that was doing the auditing was out of Champaign, and she was really impressed with this program that we had because a lot of the other MPOs don't have that with, so this is a really good partnership with the Ecology Action Center.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Brown. So then, if there's no other questions or discussion, we're ready to vote. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. So then we move on to 5B of the agenda. The first one's the project summaries. None. Was there anything you wanted to talk about any of the projects?
We got everything finished up for the most part. Still waiting on final invoicing from the state. Before we have the invoicing from the state, and I think we're almost have most of our other county projects finalized out. I think we might owe Apple a little bit of money on just on Sabina Road. We're kind of waiting on him to get some documentation and final quantities back to us.
Okay. All right. So then the next item is 5B2, the stormwater quarterly reports, and again, they're in the packets. Again, we do have Mr. Brown here if anyone has any questions. Stormwater, unfortunately, stormwater happens all year long, even with the runoff and all that. So, okay, that's all we have on the agenda. Does anybody have anything else? Okay, well, thank you all for coming, and meeting's adjourned.